What is up, everyone? Alex here with another champion skin tier list, this time on Senna. I know, it's been a minute. I'm also not going to make any promises on videos because I just keep shooting myself in the foot when it comes to that stuff. That being said, I am really excited about the videos I'm working on at the moment. For the month of love, as people in relationships calls it anyway, we'll be sticking to a very vague, very general theme of love for this month. So we're going to start out with Senna, who's one of the very few champions in League of Legends who's in a loving, albeit pretty tragic, relationship. Next video, we're going to be covering her husband, Lucian, but we're not really focusing on him right now. We're going to get back to Senna. Senna has a big gun, great spell effects to go along with it, a very cool character model with a silver cloak and black and gold color scheme. You take all of those and you have a really great starting point when it comes to a base character model. Throw in some really amazing, ghoulish, ghastly spell effects to go along with the railgun that she just effortlessly swings around, and you have a great champion concept from the get-go. Now, how does Senna just wave this thing around like it doesn't even weigh anything? I just imagine she never skips arm day. The basic rules of my tier list is we take a champion's base look and we'll put it at the top of C tier. This kind of just gives us a good baseline look and gives us something to compare all the future skins to. So if you love Senna's base look, don't think I'm bashing it here. It's just how the tier list works. We're following order of release here, with her true damage skin being her, well, on-release skin, and it's one of several band-inspired looks that League of Legends has come out with over the years. We see a more modern-day take on Senna wearing clothes that I just have to imagine are very fashionable, not that I could ever really know, but she really does look cool, confident, collected, any other adjectives that start with C and O, and the red scarf she gets with the skin is a very noticeable pop of color and is by far the biggest physical draw to her model. That being said, you can always get a chroma if you're looking for something a little bit different. I like the stencils or the stickers she has on her weapon as well. It gives it a less serious vibe, sure, but it is still a giant gun. So I'd say that about covers it for the intimidation factor. Just because a Rottweiler is wearing a cute sweater, it doesn't really stop it from ripping you apart if you mess with it. She gets some modifications to her various animations, like her taunt and her joke. A big point of contention for me, though, with skins that are based off a band or musical themed in some way, is I feel like these should have a really serious change when it comes to their dances, and this one doesn't really. It's not a deal breaker, but I'd be lying if I said that this stuff doesn't continuously disappoint me at least a little bit. Now, the meat and potatoes of the skin is in the spell effects, and they all get this synthetic wavelength look to them, obviously a reference to what you'd see on something like a turntable, or in my case, adjusting audio levels. These have the same basic colors of Senna's usual effects, with a little orange and red thrown in there for good measure. They also have a cleaner, more direct look to them. Overall, this is a good skin, and I think it is worthy of getting into our B tier, but I'm going to be honest, Senna has a lot of really good skins here. This is going to be such a great tier list. Next skin we have going on is just a little bit different from the last entry, with her Prestige True Damage skin. These Prestige skins are not something we need to spend a whole lot of time on because they're very similar to the previous entry, so we're just going to get it out of the way. Another thing that we're going to get out of the way is the fact that this is actually going to be my S tier pick. As usual, I feel like I need to explain my S tier system. It's just my personal favorite. I fully expect people to disagree, but it's not often I get to talk about a champion I play a lot of. And when it comes to playing Senna, I always end up going back to the skin anyway. Gold, black, and white look incredible on Senna. Her overall model just looks so much more amazing and glamorous than the regular True Damage skin. The spell effects look shiny, they look incredibly well polished. I just like it. I think it's an incredible skin, and I do think that I have some more sentimental value here, as this was during my era of playing League a ton, almost every single day, and loving that whole event process of earning tokens and building up enough to buy skins that were in prestige category. I got very into those events, so much so that I actually just stopped playing League if there wasn't one going on, because I felt like I wasn't getting the most out of my time. That being said, out of the dozen or so prestige skins that I've ever unlocked, this one is probably in at least my top 2 if I'm being honest. Top 1 depending on what day you ask me. And the hits just keep on coming with Senna's High Noon skin. This is a legendary skin, so it's going to be pretty good from the start. I like the idea of these High Noon skins being basically make it cowboy, but also add demons to it for good measure. Legendary skins are always going to have a lot of quality to them. If League is going to charge $20 for a skin, they kind of have to make them good, just because the public backlash would be a little annoying if I'm being honest. I wouldn't want to deal with it from a PR perspective. I touched on it a little bit, but she gets a leather-clad demonic western look to her, now complete with her railgun being replaced with a giant revolver. And somehow it looks even bigger than the original railgun. Orange and black spell effects look really clean and crisp, kind of give it that Halloween vibe as well. Something I didn't mention before with the previous two skins is that the drop souls from minions get a different look to them depending on the skin. The true damage ones just kind of turn them into orbs, but with this one, well, cowboys are a pretty American concept, right? So it's gotta be bullets. That just makes sense to me. Her joke sees her giant revolver turn into her warhorse, whose name is Sentinel. Her taunt shows her reloading the giant revolver, and her dance has some old-timey Western music to it, which are all fun little touches that fit into the theme of the skin pretty well. All in all, this is a phenomenal skin. It's usually very difficult to put legendary skins anywhere other than at least A tier. And like I said, just a friendly reminder, S tier just means my personal favorite. A tier is actually the objective best tier. So just keep that in mind before you pop a blood vessel about this not being the most highly ranked skin. You're gonna make yourself look ridiculous, and you don't need to do that. You're looking really good today. Alright, so far so good. I really like the spread of the tier list that we have going on so far. It's all pretty evenly distributed. The next skin we have up is her project skin, which is in a personal favorite skin line of mine. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, so that kind of makes sense for me. I really like these skins because they always remind me of Halo and the armor the Spartans wear in those games. My two biggest flaws I have with this skin, however, is, well, first, I just don't like the voice filter. It's just not for me. It sounds so distorted and a little hard to understand what she's saying. And especially when a character like Senna has her normal voice lines, it doesn't feel like it matches up tonally with the rest of the skin. My next gripe is I prefer the project skins to have helmets or masks on them. I'm not entirely sure why, but it just looks more complete in that way. I think that's another argument for Riot needing to implement more toggles into the game. Things like Kaisa gets a helmet that she can toggle on or off. I think more champions need stuff like this. I also personally really prefer the hood and the dreads look that the base Senna has over this mohawk nonsense that she has going on here. The basics of the project skins involve giving the champ a bunch of holographic spell effects, and we see that here using a light purple hue for everything. It just kind of seems a little basic. I think I would have liked some darker colors involved here, or some sharper, more distinct lines. With how her attacks and spells work generally, there doesn't seem like there's much of an impact, which works great when her spell effects and attacks are ghostly looking, but with these, I just don't think they work very well. Even with High Noon Senna, the auto attacks and the spell effects felt like they had a little extra punch involved in them. Listen, there's some cool stuff going on with this skin for sure. Don't get me wrong, it's a good skin. I do hate saying this, though, especially because I like the project line in general, but I think this is going to be a C tier for me. And I know some people are going to be upset about that, but drop your tier list in the comments. Like I said, I play a lot of Senna. This is an opinion-based show. That doesn't mean I don't want to hear your opinions, and especially why you like or dislike certain things. So just let me know. No worries here, okay? Now, I have an important question. Is Senna considered goth? Because if not, this next skin definitely takes it up a notch with her Lunar Eclipse skin. All black, some cyan-colored braids, a mask that covers up her eyes. This feels like a giant Jujutsu Kaisen reference, even though I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I mean, you got the mask covering her eyes for Gojo, and the hair is kind of very similar to Mei Mei. I know, again, like I said, probably a coincidence, but it does look cool, and it gives me extra points for it. You give Senna some black armor, make her giant gun look like it was pieced together using mosaic glass and metal, and you just have a really, really cool look. That mosaic glass is really more prominent in her new recall that she has. I didn't like the distorted voice filter with the last skin, but this one has a better, more haunting one that matches with Senna's overall vibe, and is much easier to actually, understand her lines. I know, I'm complaining a lot about it, but you're talking to somebody who watches Netflix with subtitles. I just can't hear properly. I don't know what it is. Should I get it checked out? Probably, but I live in America. I don't have the money for that, so that's where we're at. The spell effects also just look so clean with this skin. They all have this dark and gloomy effect to them, which again just matches up with Senna really well. The standout ability for me is her Q having these runic symbols to them, and I also like that the souls now are these little lunar eclipse symbols. probably my favorite new look for Senna's souls that we've seen, at least so far. I'm actually really impressed with the skin. I like it a lot. I'm gonna put it in A tier, just below her High Noon skin. I gotta say, it does a great job of keeping up quality-wise with even a legendary skin, and that's a phenomenal compliment for a normal priced skin. Damn, I feel like I don't see this too often, but Senna has 2 prestige skins, with her getting a prestige version of the Lunar Eclipse skin. But boy, oh boy, do I think the skin is just kind of ugly. The last prestige skin used a good amount of the gold and white coloring, but it also used a lot of black to kind of balance that out as well. The skin uses way too many light colors, and it looks almost just like it's too much. It kind of hurts my eyes, if I'm being honest. The next thing is, I don't know why this is a prestige skin of the Lunar Eclipse skin specifically, because aside from the name, I just don't even think they're that similar. The spell effects feel a little more bland. New things like the voice filter and the new emotes just feel more hollow, because she looks more like a knockoff Power Ranger than something you'd expect from hearing the words Lunar Eclipse. Which brings me to my 2 absolute least favorite things, and they're super shallow, but it's my list, so here we go. I hate her pants, as weird as that is to say, they just look strange. And I hate the fact that they took away her cape and gave her a scarf. I hated it with the project skin. I hate it with this one too. This is gonna go in D tier. I don't think I'd ever use the skin if I had it. I just kind of don't even want to talk about it anymore, if we're being completely honest. Oh, what is it about witches? Is it the hat? Penchant for hanging around with black cats? The wardrobe consisting of corsets and thigh-high black boots? I mean, it's all of that for sure, but it's also the fact that it's just magical. Who would have thought Senna would look so bewitching in her brand new bewitching skin? How about that? That worked. A legacy skin that you can pick up around Halloween. Her gun and her hat are easily the biggest draws when it comes to the overall look of the skin. The gun is a little sentient and has a hunger for demonic fish pumpkin things. We see this during the recall, if you don't know what I'm talking about. The big eye on it gives it serious Nightmare from Soul Calibur vibes, but this is a giant gun instead of a giant sword, and you know what they say about bringing a sword to a gunfight, right? Moving on to the ability changes, the souls are now haunted-looking jack-o'-lanterns. We have a lot of new green and purple spell effects that have changed up. When enemy champs are affected by the black mist, they have green ghosts flying around them. Her W ability has some bats that fly off of them with some runes that trap them in. All pretty standard stuff when it comes to a Halloween skin. My only thing that I feel like I'm missing out on is there's no black cat. But that's hardly her fault. Maybe she's a dog person, you never know. All jokes aside, this is a great Halloween skin. I'm gonna set it at the top of B tier. It's not a bad skin by any means, but its lack of availability does hurt it just a tad. And if I'm being completely honest, everything I've put in A tier so far is just on a slightly different level than this one. Another fan favorite skin line in the League of Legends community are the Star Guardian skins. Arguably, this set is a little too popular because I don't really think that every champion who has one of these is necessarily a good fit for it. Fortunately for us, Senna is not one of those. I think it looks great, and I am trying to leave my Star Guardian bias at the door though, and just focus on what this brings to the table for Senna. I like the fact that they blend some darker colors in with the brighter colors that are pretty much standard for Star Guardians. I do think this skin would have benefited from the dark Star Guardians kind of look that Zoe, Rakan, and Xayah got a few years ago. That being said, Senna kind of already has 2 legendary skins, so that could be a bit much if she had 3. Surprising exactly nobody. The spell effects all look incredible, with little stars and wisps of light. I do think the darker colors on her effects look much better than something like the Project skin. Senna needs darker effects and darker tones on her armor to make it work with her personality and her quotes, and this skin does a really good job of blending and balancing all that out. And I mean, the souls are little cosmic ghost sharks, and that's just really nice. It makes me even more desperate to grab as many of them as I can. I kind of have an obsession when I'm playing Senna of trying to get that soul count as high as possible. As an AD carry main, if I'm forced to play support ever, but I'm able to play Senna, I know that I'm at least going to have fun that game trying to get my count higher. Star Guardian skins are always really high on the quality factor. You get a significant change to Senna's emotes and her spell effects, we get a new recall, and Senna looks pretty damn good here. Most of the chromas that she gets with the skin are really good as well. This is an example of a skin changing a champion's vibe, but in a way that works and is respectful to the character. I think this does what the project skin was trying to accomplish. I'm going to set this one in A tier, which I don't think is going to be surprising to anyone. I'm going to set it between the High Noon and the Lunar Eclipse skins. It's a little more common nowadays, but I still feel like this doesn't really happen that often that a champion gets 2 legendary skins. Because Senna already doesn't have a lot of skins, so if we break it down, more than 20% of her skins are legendary. Not that I'm complaining, I play a lot of Senna and I think they're great. I think Senna is a ton of fun to play, and I can't really remember a lot of times over the years where she was considered a bad pick. So this is a great business decision by Riot, and clearly there's some popularity to her because they wouldn't waste resources on making legendary skins for champions that nobody is playing. Winter Blessed Senna is obviously a Christmas-based skin that is thankfully not a legacy skin that gets locked up in January, which is both good for the fans, good for Riot's wallet, and bad for fans' wallets. Her look is great, using some blues and reds. It all looks very Christmassy, but without really hitting you over the head with it. I think her gun looks good. It's nothing crazy, but it's also nothing that actively hurts the skin. It goes with it, but unlike some of the other skins where it looked like the main draw, it kind of just works. Legendary skins basically have to have new emotes, and her joke has her making some ice cream for a trio of Poros. Poros are pretty divisive, but I'm on the side that loves them, so anything with Poros I'm gonna enjoy. It's considered a win for me. It looks like her taunt has her making a snowman, which feels a little strange and not threatening, but whatever. Her dance teaches us that Senna could have had a very promising career as a figure skater. Her recall doesn't have anything crazy going on, but it is very pretty with some Northern Lights inspiration to it. That leads us into her new spell effects, and they look pretty breathtaking, I'm not gonna lie. Snowflakes replace the souls is predictable, but that doesn't necessarily mean bad. All her spell effects have that Northern Lights inspired look to them that I mentioned a few seconds ago. And there's also this really cool golden thread looking kind of thing that surrounds them as well. It just looks very elegant, very pretty, very beautiful. Winter Blessed is easily the prettiest skin that Senna has. It's beautiful. Riot did a tremendous job with it, and I think this is also going to go into the A tier. I am going to place it behind High Noon, but in front of Lunar Eclipse. Big surprise, the 2 legendary skins take the top slots in our A tier, followed by Star Guardian and Lunar Eclipse skins rounding out our A tier. Once we take my S tier pick into consideration with the Prestige True Damage skin, I basically view more than half of Senna's skins as pretty much perfect. We have a pretty solid B tier with our Bewitching skin and her True Damage skin. Both are good, but lost a few points for various reasons. We have a disappointing project skin going into our C tier. It's not bad, but I just feel like it could have done more. And unfortunately, we do have a pretty significant miss with the Prestige Lunar Eclipse skin rounding out our tier list in the D tier. And that's the tier list. I actually like the look of it, and honestly, Senna has a lot of really good skins, so this was a fun video to make. As usual, if you disagreed, or if you want to just give me your takes, go ahead, let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, there's a fun little thumbs up button you can press to reflect that and make me smile at the same time. If you're new here, welcome. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for me. I have a few more projects I'm currently working on for the month of February. And if you're not new here, what's up, everyone? It's good to see you again. Life's been lifing. It's been a tough ride, but I've missed doing this, so be a little patient with me. I promise this YouTube video is literally always on my mind. I spend every day thinking about it and what I can do to work on it and improve it. So if you have suggestions, let me know. I love reading the comments. I love people who are basically ride and die for me, and I see comments all the time about missing me. I miss you guys too. I love you all. Thank you all for the support. I've been Alex, and I will see you all in the next one.